Okay, so I made this video about 7 months ago, and it breaks down the whole deal a lot more than what I'm about to break down here. I just wanted to give you guys an update on what has been going on. So if you don't know, the government has decided to mandate kill switches for all vehicles. So there's a HALT Act, and by 2026, all new vehicles will have to have a way to passively monitor drunk driving in some way or another. There's a couple different ways they're going to do it. I break it all down in this video. But one of the ways is, built in like air breathalyzers that just read the stagnant air in the car basically and can turn off the car that way. Another way is like the button is going to, read your finger blood alcohol level. And then the main way that they seem to be pushing is ECU technology. So the ECU will measure, it'll read how you're driving, how erratic you're driving, and it'll shut the car down just like that. It'll say, something's wrong here, we'll shut the car down. Sounds okay and all, I'm sure to some people, but to most people that believe, they are maybe innocent until proven guilty, you are still actually innocent of all wrongdoing in that scenario. But the car gets to decide that you are guilty and turn off the car. And now, as Thomas Massie, a true American hero, if you guys don't know him, I highly recommend educating yourself on him because he is a House of Representatives member and he is just awesome. He goes against everyone, basically. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, he is just, libertarian type freedom down the center, in my opinion, as it gets. His main goal is freedom. And I really respect that. But he has been challenging this very heavily, and there's actually still a bill that says, the bill is literally just called No Kill Switches in Cars Act, trying to push this through. And the other bill has already passed. So that is a law that is coming down the pipeline for all new cars. This is not a maybe, this is not a potentially going to happen. This is something that is going to happen if not stopped. That's just how it works. It was presented as the Advanced Impaired Driving Technology, SEC 24220. I'll put all the links down below if you want to read them. But it's just crazy that this is still, we're getting close. It's 2025, 2026 vehicles are going to be here very soon. We're not far from this. So it's crazy to think that some of these things are going to happen. And I'm going to show you the clip at the end of this video of Thomas Massie, bombarding Mr. Hansen of the NHTSA, because, this man deserves to be bombarded with these questions. And he does the classic thing of, I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that. It gets very frustrating. And Thomas Massie is not your typical congressman. He actually is intelligent. And he's quoted saying, when, something along the lines of, when other people get elected into the House of Representatives, suddenly they just lose 50 IQ points or something like that. They just become idiots. He said this. I've heard him. I've seen it. I've read it on X. But he is heavily pushing to get this taken back. And it's hopefully getting close. There's a lot of people that have started to co-sign on it again. And, well, it's been a little while, but it just kind of resurrected itself because it needs to be repealed. These cars, as he says, cannot get more expensive. You can't add a $5,000 system and not compromise somewhere else. People cannot sustain this. He even talks about airbag technology existing before the regulations. Seatbelts existing before the regulations. This is a regulation, and then they have to create it. So, yes, for GM, they may be working on this, but it's going to add cost. They don't exist yet. This is sci-fi, as he calls it. And he even makes a great point. If you're a mother driving and this thing turns your car off, how do you appeal that in the moment? How do you get it turned back on? And the guy says, I don't know. The guy that should know says, I don't know how you turn it back on. You could be at 2 a.m. driving home and suddenly your car thinks you're impaired and stops driving, and you have no way to appeal that from the understanding we're given here. You're just guilty of drunk driving now. Is this what we're willing to compromise to stop drunk driving. They said, what, $44 billion a year in, or I think they said $44 trillion a year in damages, something crazy like that. A lot of zeros here on this thing. 9,400 alcohol impaired driving fatalities annually. Really not that high. I mean, how many of those are just the driver? Are we really going to implement this in everyone's vehicle to stop drunk driving? This is the whole debate here. And I just wanted to give a 7-month update. I can go on a rant all day. The video at the end will basically make all the points needed. And I kind of just wanted to make this video so more people saw Thomas Massey, talking to this guy and just how ridiculous the person he's talking to sounds and how insane all of this sounds. But it's frustrating. Obviously, drunk driving's bad, but I don't think we should take away everyone's cars. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, something's bad. Like, guns can be dangerous, but that doesn't mean you take away all the guns. Cars are dangerous. Drunk driving's bad. That doesn't mean you outlaw it all. So, what are we doing here? But watch this clip, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And then if you want to learn more, watch my original video. All the links will be down in the description of what to do and all that stuff. But if you're new here, hit the subscribe button because it helps us out a lot and help me keep this channel rolling because I like doing videos like this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hansen, I once had a mentor who told me that hope is not a business plan. I would also say it's not a good technology development plan. In your testimony, you noted that the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires NHTSA to complete rulemaking for advanced impaired driving technology, aka automotive kill switch, by November of last year, a deadline that the agency has not met. I made a prediction in front of this committee, and I'm going to make it again today, that this won't be ready by 2026. Congress has asked the impossible. It's a wish. It's not a plan. Are you aware that Ann Carlson, the former acting administrator of NHTSA, sat in front of this subcommittee and said, I think it's safe to say that we do not think they are available yet in a way that actually will achieve the goals both of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Vehicle Safety Act. Did you hear her make that comment?
Mr. Chair, members, I don't remember that specific comment, sir.
So, are you aware that the technology that you are advocating for in your testimony does not exist?
NHTSA released their early rulemaking process in March of 2024. There was a deadline in late 2024 for them to have a proposal ready to go, and that has gone by or expired. NHTSA has also been working with the DDADS program since about 2008, which is the early precursor for the HALT Act, or that the technology in car that would prevent an impaired driver from operating that vehicle. My understanding is that that DDADS project is now ready to go and could be implemented in 2025, and the OEMs have been involved in the development of that.
Well, before airbags were mandated and before seat belts were mandated, they both existed in commercial vehicles for over a decade. Does this technology exist in any commercial vehicle presently?
I'm not aware of it being, Mr. Chair, members, I'm not aware of it being available or mandated in any vehicle type now, but I would compare it to ignition interlock. That type of technology is there in one shape, form, or another.
Well, the difference between the ignition interlock and this technology you're advocating for is the one you're advocating for is science fiction presently. It doesn't exist in any vehicle. It's never been implemented. And there's a mandate by the government to have it in every new vehicle within 2 years. It's just not practical. What's more is if you did try to implement it, there would be false positives. So what we're talking about here is a kill switch in an automobile that would monitor the driving of a vehicle and then stop the vehicle from operating if the car itself decides that the operator is not driving safely. Let's say a mother is driving a vehicle, taking her kids to work, and how does she appeal her conviction of a disabled minivan from the side of a road? How would you re-enable a car that's been disabled with this technology you're advocating for?
It's a good question, sir, Mr. Chair, members. Good question, and I'm not quite sure that I'm qualified to provide the technical answer that you're looking for there. I do understand that the technology is very near to being developed that would allow for a passive type of system that would detect when a driver has an alcohol concentration above a predetermined level, and that would not allow the vehicle to be operated.
Well, the problem with the technology is it's not looking for alcohol levels. You can monitor blood alcohol levels, at least if somebody's breathing into something. That's not what this technology promises to do. In fact, it says it's going to passively monitor driver performance. What does that mean?
Mr. Chair and members, my understanding is that it doesn't require any active participation by the driver, like an ignition interlock system would. It simply is a system that exists within the vehicle platform that would detect when a driver has a predetermined alcohol concentration or is above that predetermined alcohol concentration. So this is primarily focusing on preventing an impaired driving incident from happening before it does.
The specification hopes to do that, but the technology does not exist. It simply doesn't exist. And what's more is if it did exist, there's some cost associated with developing it. Maybe an autonomous vehicle could perform this, but what does an autonomous vehicle cost? And whenever we're looking at safety, as an engineer, what you need to look at is where's your bang for the buck? If this system, assuming it could exist, costs $5,000, you can't simply mandate it and say you're going to improve safety because the price of the vehicle can't go up $5,000. You're going to compromise somewhere else, maybe less metal in the frame or something. So I think it's foolhardy for you to sit here and testify that we need to have this technology available on this timeline because it simply does not exist. We don't know the cost. We don't know how it works. And there would be false positives that could put the public at danger. And with that, I yield back.